A historic win for Adam Peaty on day 3 of the Games in Tokyo. He becomes the first ever British swimmer to successfully defend an Olympic title.
Adam Peaty is the double Olympic champion.
Peaty dominated the men's 100-metre breaststroke to win his second Olympic gold.
This victory wasn't mine. It was the British swimming team, it was my family, it was my friends, and those people I had to put to the sideline for a moment. So I knew it was going to take absolutely every single bit of energy to get to this point.
Oh, look at that, look at the weight. Where are the scores? Yeah! Oh, and it's just... Yes!
And jubilation for diver Tom Daley with his new partner Matty Lee. 4 Olympic Games and he's finally won gold.
All day today, it's been like everything's fallen into place and we found that sense of flow. We didn't really say all that much to each other. It was like we just knew what we had to do to get the job done.
And more British success, a gold for Tom Pidcock in the men's mountain bike cross country and silver for Alex Yee in the men's triathlon.
A bit bizarre really, like it's me that's doing this. I'm just a normal guy from South East London, so like it's just crazy that like yeah, dreams really do come true.
We'll bring you all the latest from Tokyo as Team GB shoots up to 4th place in the medals table, also on the programme. Will more key workers in England be given the right to test daily for COVID instead of self-isolating? Ministers are meeting to decide. Flash floods and wildfires in a year of extreme weather globally. Scientists meet to assess the full extent of climate change. And the Dutch band, which is banned from performing as the Netherlands closes nightclubs again because of COVID.
And coming up on the BBC News channel, a 13-year-old has won the women's skateboarding Olympic final. Japan's Momiji Nishia took gold in the new event at her home games.
Good afternoon and welcome to BBC News. It's been a gold rush for Team GB at the Olympics in Tokyo. Adam Peaty claimed its first gold medal with victory in the 100 metres breaststroke, becoming the first British swimmer ever to retain an Olympic title. And the golds kept coming, with Tom Daley in his 4th consecutive Olympic Games, coming top in the men's synchronised 10-metre diving with his partner Matty Lee. Alongside them, Tom Pidcock won gold in the men's mountain bike cross-country event, and there was success in the men's triathlon with Alex Yee securing a silver medal. Well, our correspondent in Tokyo, Natalie Perks, has been watching all the action and she joins us now. Natalie.
Well, we all enjoyed Super Saturday in London, didn't we? But today has been Magic Monday. First up, we had the swimming gold over there, then a diving gold right behind me. And then just moments later, Britain's first ever Olympic gold in the men's mountain biking over in Izu, about 2 hours southwest of here. But first, let's take a breath and let's hear all about Adam Peaty's exploits as he became the first British man to retain an Olympic swimming title, as our sports editor Dan Rowan now reports.
Look at that.
No wonder there was a swagger. Such is his domination of this sport, the sense was that all Adam Peaty had to do to defend his title here in Tokyo was turn up. Defeat was unthinkable.
It's so superior, Adam Peaty.
But he still had to deliver when it mattered most.
So he's got to hit the start here, Adam Peaty in the centre in the red hat.
Unbeaten in the 100-metre breaststroke for 7 years, Peaty began as the firmest of favourites. And after a good start, it never really seemed in doubt.
Well, this is very good. This is where he needs to be at the 50. It's a lovely first 50 metres, 1/10 of a second outside his own world record.
By the turn, his lead was established. The only question whether he'd break his own world record. That proved beyond him, but Peaty was in a class of his own.
And Adam Peaty is going to win the second gold medal at consecutive Olympic Games. Look at this, utterly brilliant. Adam Peaty is the double Olympic champion. Fantastic swim.
After so much expectation, a roar of relief.
When he walked out, I could see he wasn't going to get it.
Minutes later, the 26-year-old telling me just how much it meant.
The amount of blood, sweat and tears that have gone into this, the amount of preparation, the investment, time, energy, love, because we've been through a tough time. COVID or not, vaccine or not, doesn't matter. Everyone's been through a tough time. The world's changed, and hopefully this race and these sport, and hopefully the gold medals that are about to follow with Team GB, we can give everyone hope back home.
Adam Peaty is the Olympic champion.
This the first time ever a British swimmer has retained an Olympic title. Victory has rarely felt so inevitable.
So Great Britain's banker at these games delivers again. In truth, it's become hard to imagine Adam Peaty not winning this, Team GB's first gold medal here in Tokyo, and this swimmer's remarkable domination of his event continues.
The man is just a machine, you know, the pressure and the expectation that has been on him by the nation leading up to this Olympics, include COVID, and then include the fact that he becomes the first gold medalist. It's just been extraordinary. You need incredibly broad shoulders to be able to deal with that.
Watching on in the early hours back home in Leicestershire, Peaty's partner and baby son.
I can't even find the words to describe it because I don't think I've felt this kind of pride before. Obviously with George, there's a lot of pride, but it's so different, isn't it?
Already swimming's best ever breaststroker, Peaty's status among the greatest of British Olympians now secure. Dan Rowan, BBC News, Tokyo.
Well, before Peaty's exploits, Alex Yee had won silver for Britain in the men's triathlon, and then all eyes turned to this side of the aquatic centre, more specifically the men's 10-metre diving platform in the synchronised diving. Now, Tom Daley's journey has taken him from a 14-year-old in Beijing to the self-confessed granddad of the team. He was guiding his new diving partner, Matty Lee, on his Olympic debut, and it turns out rather successfully. Oh, and then we watched him wonder as Tom Pidcock cemented his status as the one to watch in the men's mountain biking. Here's our correspondent Andy Swift with a roundup of all the action.
Tom Daley, Olympic champion. It's the words he's waited a lifetime for, and as he wiped away the tears of joy, it seemed even he could scarcely believe it. Some 13 years after his debut, this Games seemed his last realistic chance of gold, in partnership with Olympic debutant Matty Lee.
Yes, 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 yes!
A string of near flawless dives meant they led going into the final round, but could they hold their nerve? Well, there's your answer. Celebrations all round, but it wasn't over yet. China, the favourites, could still deny them, and a brilliant last dive meant an agonising wait for Daley and Lee, until finally, gloriously, this. It was the stuff of sporting dreams.
And Olympic champions, Great Britain!
And after so many years of striving for this moment, the emotions overflowed.
To finally have this gold medal around my neck after so many... I mean, I've been diving now for 20 years, and this is my 4th Olympic Games, and lots of people probably would have counted me out of this Olympics being the older person, but I'm in the best shape physically, mentally, and then to hear the national anthem play, I was gone. I couldn't even sing. I was halfway singing, and I was like blubbering. I just can't believe it.
It has been some journey. From a 14-year-old prodigy at the Beijing Games, Daley has grown up in the public glare. And leading the celebrations back home was his husband. Dustin Lance Black later tweeted, "No words, so many tears, you're an Olympic champion." And Britain has another champion in the mountain biking. Less than 2 months ago, Tom Pidcock broke his collarbone. Fair to say, you wouldn't have guessed it. As he raced clear of his rivals, he even had time to celebrate in style.
Tom Pidcock, he takes gold in Tokyo.
For the 21-year-old, who prepared for Tokyo's temperatures in a heated tent at his home in Leeds, it almost defied belief.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think everyone works so hard for these, for the Olympics, and now, I'm here. I'm Olympic. It's unbelievable, really.
Meanwhile, there was drama at the start of the triathlon as a boat blocked about half the athletes. They all had to go again. And when they did, it was Norway's Christian Blumenfeldt that ultimately led them home. followed by Britain's Alex Yee, the 23-year-old taking a silver, which astounded even him.
A bit bizarre, really, like that it's me that's doing this. I'm just a normal guy from southeast London, so like it's just crazy that, like, yeah, dreams really do come true. So like it's just amazing.
And Team GB are also guaranteed another medal in the Taekwondo, with Lauren Williams through to her final later on. An already glittering day for Team GB could soon get even better. Andy Swiss, BBC News.
Well, a tropical storm is heading for Tokyo tomorrow, but it's already been raining medals. Sorry, not sorry. And there is at least another one, as Andy just mentioned, guaranteed in the next 90 minutes. Lauren Williams is on her Olympic debut. She's just 22 years old, and she'll be going in the final at the Taekwondo 67-kilogram final bout. Tough one for her, though. She faces the European champion from Croatia. You can hear the swimming heats going on behind me, but in the men's gymnastics, it's the team final. Team GB are in 5th place after 2 rotations. A better shot, really, at medals will be in the individual finals with Max Whitlock and Joe Fraser. They're in 3 of those finals later on in the week. Today in the hockey, Great Britain beat Canada, the men 3-1, and the women, of course, are the defending champions. They've just beaten South Africa 4-1, but there's no doubt that today was the day that it really caught fire here in Tokyo for Team GB. And those medals mean that Britain are up from 19th overnight to 4th in the medal table, Reeta.
Many thanks. Natalie Perks there in Tokyo. Well, we can speak now to the former British swimmer Sharon Davis, who's at the Aquatic Centre in Tokyo. She won a silver medal in the 400-metre individual relay in the 1980 Olympics in Moscow. Thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. Can we talk first of all about Adam Peaty, a fantastic achievement?
Absolutely. As you mentioned in that report, you know, he's the first British swimmer ever to defend his Olympic title. And I wouldn't put it past him to be here again in 3 years' time. It's been really, really tough for him. It's been tough for everybody, of course, you know, but normally they would go away and spend quite a lot of their winters training abroad. Some were warm. Well, he was in his garage, and then he had a small pool shipped into his garden so that he could actually do some water work and keep the feel of his hands. He's become a dad. He's moved house. You know, so much has actually happened. And the weight of expectation on his shoulders here from the nation to bring home that first goal was extraordinary and so professional about how he did it.
And a word on Tom Daley, because we saw such emotional scenes there, didn't we? 4 Olympics and now finally a gold.
Absolutely. Tom and I learnt to swim in exactly the same pool down in lovely Plymouth. He's had to wait a long time and he's worked incredibly hard for this gold medal. And both men are actually going to be competing later in the week. Tom is going to be doing his individual 10-metre, and we're going to see Adam back in the pool again for the medley relay and the mixed medley relay, which is a new event. So, I mean, it's been a great day. It's been a great day for those 2 men. It's been a great day for Team Great Britain. Magic Monday.
Thank you very much indeed. That's Sharon Davis speaking to us from the Aquatic Centre in Tokyo. Now, in other news, senior ministers are meeting to discuss whether to expand the scheme which allows fully vaccinated key workers in England to avoid self-isolation by taking daily COVID tests instead. Staff working in the food supply chain, in frontline emergency services and in transport and freight are already included, and ministers could add other workers to the list or boost the numbers for existing sectors. Theo Leggett reports.
The test and trace system and the COVID app were meant to help control the spread of the coronavirus. But for businesses and other organisations, the so-called pingdemic has become a nightmare of staff shortages. Last week, the government took action to protect food supplies. It said workers at some 500 sites involved in food production and distribution would be able to avoid isolation if they got pinged and could take daily tests instead. That move's been welcomed by some.
Knowing that we're in scope as well is really, really great, because it means that businesses who've been affected by the pandemic can actually plan for any colleagues that go off, whereas previously, if somebody had been pinged, then they might have had a whole team of people wiped out, which was going to be really, really difficult to plan for the supply of food and drink over the next 3 weeks.
But others are less impressed, because they say the government hasn't been clear enough about who's included in the scheme and how it will actually work.
We don't even know if we're included as one of the 500 companies. If we were included, we don't actually know how the testing is going to operate. So, to be quite honest with you, we haven't got a clue.
But this isn't just a problem for the food industry. Transport networks have been hit as well. Many railway companies have had to cancel services because they can't get enough drivers. Emergency services have been hit, and pubs and restaurants have had to close because they can't get enough staff. There are exemptions available for a small number of fully vaccinated critical workers in sectors such as energy, water supply, medicines, emergency services and border control. But the system has been criticised as too narrow, and the government is under pressure to extend it before a much wider relaxation of isolation rules comes in on August the 16th.
So what we're saying to the most critical of the critical worker sectors is exactly that. So that's the fire, the police, border control, certain parts of the food sector, that if you've had that double vaccination, and indeed the 2 weeks after you've had your second vaccination.
But not the trains. He told us it was chaos, the boss of the RMT.
Certain elements of transport that they've been looking at as well to give that flexibility.
But businesses say they can't wait that long and warn that if the rules aren't eased sooner, the damage to them and their customers will mount up. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
Let's go to Westminster now and to our political correspondent Helen Katz. So, a possible widening of this scheme, but Helen, there are questions about the government's piecemeal approach to this.
Yes, because we have seen that expansion from sector to sector over recent days, because the government has said that on August the 16th in England, it will be letting everyone who has been fully vaccinated avoid self-isolation from that point onwards. There are plenty of people saying, well, why not just do that now? Why bother setting up these exemption systems, which can be a lot of work, for the sake of 3 weeks? Now, the government has been pretty bullish about saying, no, it is keeping self-isolation more widely in place until the 16th of August. They say that it is a key and essential way of keeping transmission down, and that the way to manage the disruption that comes with that is by creating these exemptions. So ministers and senior officials are having a look at the list of those today. They're assessing it at their regular COVID-O meeting to see if it needs to change. But certainly it hasn't looked so far like that overall strategy is really up for review at all. And there has been a bit of cautious backing for it from Labour this morning, saying that they do want this exemption system to work, and if it does, they should support it. So Keir Starmer said that he didn't back calls from some unions who've been saying that workers who are exempt from isolation but are isolating should keep isolating because of safety concerns. But Sir Keir did say that he drew a distinction between people who had been pinged and people who were isolating because they were living with a family member with COVID, as of course he himself is.
OK, many thanks. Helen Catt there reporting from Westminster. The time is 17 minutes past 12, our top story this lunchtime.
Adam Peaty is the double Olympic champion. Fantastic swim.
A historic win for Adam Peaty at the Tokyo Olympics, the first ever British swimmer to successfully defend an Olympic title. And coming up, vintage style. We visit what's thought to be the UK's first permanent fashion swap shop for adults.
Coming up on the BBC News channel, Adam Peaty has successfully defended winning the 100 metres breaststroke, the first British swimmer to do so. Peaty blew away the competition to take Britain's first gold medal of the Tokyo Games.
We've seen extreme weather this year around the globe, with floods in parts of Europe and Asia and wildfires raging in the US and Canada. It all lends an urgency to a virtual meeting being held by the world's leading climate scientists to hammer out the details of the most important UN assessment of climate change since 2013. It will be used at the COP26 summit in Glasgow, which is less than 100 days away. Our environment analyst Roger Harrobin has more.
Extreme temperatures and drought are fueling more wildfires in Northern California. Fire is threatening Spain too. The Catalonia region's facing one of its worst blazes in years. Similar scenes on the Italian island of Sardinia, an out-of-control fire after a heat wave. Scientists have long warned that climate change would make extreme weather worse.
The reason why people realise that climate change is happening is because they see it all around the world. We have extreme weather events in every single country in the world. The science is very clear. The scientists have always been very clear on what is climate change, how it's caused, and how we can deal with it.
In Belgium, heavy rainfall has caused more flooding, less than a fortnight after deadly flash floods across Western Europe. A typhoon is battering China, days after severe flooding killed dozens of people. Warmer air temperatures allow the atmosphere to hold more moisture. That contributes to more extreme rain. In Geneva, governments are meeting to study the latest science on climate change. How bad will warming be? How fast will it progress? Meanwhile, in London, as floodwater streamed into a train station and turned roads into rivers, ministers from more than 50 countries met to lay the groundwork for November's vital climate summit in Glasgow. This was the message from the British host.
We are seeing in every part of the world, on each of our doorsteps, what happens when climate change gets out of control. And so what I hope that we have at this meeting is an opportunity for us to shape the vision of the final outcomes from COP26 in Glasgow and to build that unity of purpose amongst the ministers to deliver that.
World leaders are under pressure to phase out coal power and to set more ambitious targets on emissions, although that won't always be popular with voters.
They can only commit to, or it doesn't matter what they commit to if they can't get that through their parliaments. So there is a very complex process behind all this.
There is a continuing mismatch between science and policy. Some scientists fear that with just 1.2 degrees of heating now, the world might already have entered a phase of dangerous climate change. Roger Harrabin, BBC News.
COVID infection rates in the Netherlands surged by more than 500% earlier this month, following the scrapping of almost all remaining lockdown restrictions and the reopening of nightclubs in late June. The big rise in infections has prompted a swift U-turn, with nightclubs now closed until at least the 13th of August. Anna Holligan went to meet one band who had hoped to perform this weekend.
This was meant to be Goldband's breakthrough year.
We make Dutch electronic synth pop, and it's awesome.
But with the nightclubs closed, there's been no audience to see them in action.
We had like 70 shows, and they all got cancelled, and that was a big bummer. I already told my girlfriend I was going to pay the rent.
Many feel as though they're being used as scapegoats by a state that keeps on changing direction.
You cannot put this entire weight of responsibility on the youth of today. That's just crazy. I mean, if you tell youth that you can go out and you're going out and then you're being punished for going out, that's very hard on us, on young people, and we shouldn't be in such a position.
Earlier this month, the infection rate shot up by 500%, the week after the government relaxed the rules before rapidly reintroducing them.
And the Dutch government here in The Hague has been struggling to balance these competing demands. The nightclub owners who want to save their businesses, the people who just want to go dancing again, and the vulnerable groups and medical workers who fear it's too soon. Any further relaxation could result in another spike in infections.
The Dutch health minister was criticised after encouraging young people to get the single-shot Janssen vaccine and go partying with the slogan "Dancing with Janssen." He admits the rush to restore freedom at home may have resulted in less of it abroad.
It is fair to say that increasing infection rates could have consequences for the extent to which we are welcome in other European countries.
Even the Gold Band boys, desperate to get back to live shows, are urging the politicians to move with caution.
I think the best thing they could have done was just keep it closed and keep it more strict and not just throw everything open, so that we could just, when the time was right, we could really start again. We're really on that live energy, as you can tell.
Anna Holligan, BBC News in The Hague.
Ryanair says it expects to carry 9 million passengers this month, almost double the number for June. The lifting of travel restrictions across the UK and Europe has helped the budget airline to increase the number of flights it operates following a surge in bookings. But Ryanair warned that it would still make a loss of more than £230 million for the first quarter of this year. Some coronavirus restrictions in Northern Ireland have been lifted. From today, up to 15 people from different households can meet indoors, and close contact services such as hairdressers can reopen without needing to pre-book an appointment. The Stormont Assembly will meet later to decide whether other measures can be eased, including the reopening of theatres and concert halls. Labour has launched a new campaign for working people in an attempt to win back some of their traditional supporters who switched to the Conservatives in the last general election. The deputy leader, Angela Rayner, set out the party's vision for a post-pandemic Britain with what she called good quality jobs and proper wages. The Conservatives say they've protected millions of jobs through the furlough scheme, raised the national living wage and reduced unemployment. The singer and presenter Ronan Keating has accepted substantial damages from Newsgroup newspapers over the phone hacking of his voicemails. His legal team said that stories which emerged in newspapers between 1996 and 2011 caused him considerable distress and led to him distrusting some of his closest friends. Newsgroup newspapers apologised for the distress caused in relation to the News of the World, which closed in 2011. Now, vintage, pre-loved or second-hand, whatever you call them, clothes that have had a previous owner are all the rage, largely due to concerns about sustainability. Now, in what's thought to be a first in the UK, a permanent fashion swap shop for adults has opened in London. Swappers pay a membership fee to visit the store and to exchange items which they no longer want. Janelle Awamoyi has more.
I'd spend about £300 a month on clothing, and one day I had a girls' night at my house, and the girls came round and we were like, let's actually go out instead of stay in. So everyone just started moving things around my wardrobe, and I saw people pulling things and swapping amongst themselves, and I saw all this happen. I just thought, if I have all these things in my wardrobe and my friend has all these things in her wardrobe, and that just means that we've all got this problem where we have all these clothes that we're not using that could go to somebody else.
Montana's opened a shop that runs on the basis of swapping instead of paying for goods. Swappers, rather than shoppers, can trade in their unloved clothes for second-hand garments. Swap Nation is thought to be the UK's first permanent fashion swap shop for adults. So I brought 3 items. Okay, it's a mid-tier Next dress.
You get 4 overall for that.
A Celine blouse.
It's a designer, which is 8 tokens, and it's made out of silk, which is free, so overall it gets 13.
A fast fashion top.
It's made out of polyester, so you're only looking around 2 free tokens for that. So 4, 7, 13, you've got 20.
20, and I can go across this whole shop,
yeah,
and choose whatever I'd like.
Take your time, browse, try them on, swap things in and out, up to you.
I've just grabbed a really amazing vintage top that if you were going to buy it from vintage sellers, it would easily be £60–70, and here I've been able to come here with 3 items that I don't wear and swap them.
But this is like their first physical permanent store that they have, so as like a long time fan, this is like really exciting for me, so I wanted to be like one of the first people through the doors today.
Swapping fashion is such a good way of like keeping a circular economy and sort of maintaining a very small but kind of personal style wardrobe, and you can still update it and things. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Sustainable fashion is becoming more and more popular. Swap Nation is just one example of a company that markets second-hand clothing, saving clothes from landfill and giving them a new life.
There are enough clothes on the planet currently to clothe the next 6 generations of the human race. 70% of the clothes we buy today are synthetic, so they are made from fossil fuels. Clothing has a huge transport cost. Most of our clothes is made, 5,000–6,000 miles away. Every piece of clothing we had costs the planet.
That is so cute.
So, according to Patrick, we need to consume less. But does swapping have to end with fashion?
So you could easily, swap a lawnmower and then swap that back out to somebody else because you've used it, and then you can continue doing that within your own community. I could see that definitely working as a business, yeah, 100%.
This one, fast fashion. Janelle Awomoyi, BBC News.
Time for a look at the weather now. Here's Thomas Schaffernacker.
Reeta, very good afternoon to you. Well, the weather could prove troublesome once again over the next few days. At the moment, it's quiet, but storm clouds are expected to brew over the course of the week and further heavy showers on the way. And there's been a lot of talk about flash floods, for example. We had some yesterday. This is what's happening right now. So this is an overview of the Atlantic. You can see a dive in the jet stream here. The jet stream is pushing weather systems in our direction, an area of low pressure. And in this setup, and we call it a setup, you often see cooler, not cold, but cooler, relatively speaking, air from the North Atlantic. And that's one of the ingredients we need for heavy showers this time of the year. You've got the strong sun above, coming from above, and then it heats up the land and then the showers form. Now, today is actually quieter for various reasons. We're not getting these heavier showers. In fact, it's a decent enough day and very warm too, in places up to around 25 degrees, but low pressure is over us, and you can see the weather's already approaching some western parts of the UK, particularly the southwest here through the night. This is showery rain. Showery means on and off. 1 minute it's quiet, then it's heavy, and then quiet again. But the vast majority of the country early on Tuesday morning, actually pretty clear with some morning sunshine. Now, here's the problem with tomorrow. So low pressure often brings strong winds, but this low pressure is large, and actually there's very little wind in it. And that is not necessarily a good thing, because with the strength of the sun, all of the moisture, we'll see big showers forming inland. Some of these will be thunderstorms, some of these will be downpours as well. And there's very little wind to push all of this around. So where the storm forms, it dumps all of that rainfall, and that then leads to flash flooding. But of course, flash flooding is localised, it's sudden. Most of us, in fact, don't get it. So it's going to be in spots around the country, a problem. Now, on Wednesday, there's going to be a little bit more of a breeze in the southern half of the UK, and the centre of that low transfers to more northern and northern parts of the country. So here, that's where the showers could be, again, slow moving and very heavy and cause some problems with flash floods, whereas in the south, with more of a breeze, the showers will sort of run along a little bit and then they're gone. But coastal areas, in this sort of situation, it's the coasts that usually fare best. Not everywhere, but look at the temperatures, only around 17 to 20 degrees on Wednesday. And as far as the rest of the week's concerned, probably turning a little bit more calm towards Thursday and Friday. Reeta.
Many thanks, Thomas. A reminder now of our top story.
Adam Peaty is the double Olympic champion. Fantastic.
Historic win for Adam Peaty at the Games in Tokyo. He becomes the first British swimmer to successfully defend an Olympics title.
This victory wasn't mine. It was the British swimming team, it was my family, it was my friends, and those people I had to put to the sideline for a moment, so I knew it was going to take absolutely every single bit of energy to get to this point.
Oh, look at that, look at the weight. Where are the scores? Yeah! Oh, and it's yes!
And jubilation for diver Tom Daley with his new partner Matty Lee. 4 Olympic Games, and he's finally won gold.
All day today, it's been like everything's fallen into place, and we found that sense of flow. We didn't really say all that much to each other. It was like we just knew what we had to do to get the job done.
Well, that's all from us, so it's goodbye from me. And on BBC One, we now join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.